So even if I tried to put aside the mother's hatred of her son, or with the terrible thing, let me retract that. The terrible things that she said.
Please hurry up and retract that. Y'all take it way too far. Y'all do.
Pete Hegseth. He denies all the allegations against him, and his mom went on Fox News this morning to disavow a scorched earth email that she wrote to him in 2018. Take a look.
You say, I have no...
Every time Whoopi talks, it makes me feel like she's like fighting herself. Like, is it getting to be too much to read the script, right? All right, y'all, let's get into it. So look, this was the broadcast for right before New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve or whatever. I actually wanted to get into this about, what's going on with Pete Hegseth and his mom and stuff. So let's go ahead and get into it.
No respect for any man that belittles, lies, cheats, and sleeps around. And you go on and say, you are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is a sad, sad truth.
We really believe that he is not that man he was 7 years ago. And I'm sure many of you across the country understand how difficult divorce is on a family. There's emotions. We say things. And I wrote that in haste. About 2 hours later, I retracted it with an apology email, but nobody's seen that. He doesn't misuse women. No. I mean, he's been through some difficult things. I'm not going to list them by name, but I would just say that some of those attachments or descriptions are just not true, especially anymore.
Yeah.
Did she just say they're not true anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
So that means at some point it was true.
Yeah.
At some point he was sleeping around with a bunch of women. Wait, I'm confused. Clearly he was going through some divorce or something or whatever. That's what she just said. But wait a minute now. Hold on. Men sleep with women. I'm confused. What did we... Somebody drop a comment and let me know. What did we catch here? Like, she said he was sleeping around and he was a slack, male whore. So what? And she's saying he's not like that anymore. There are a lot of people who were like, y'all ever heard of Dan Bilzerian? Okay, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. You know what? Child, I'm not going to let these people work my nerves. I'm not going for it.
So in the most haste of any moment in my mom's life, as enraged as I've probably made her, she could never call into question so many things in one letter, including my integrity, my ability, and how I treat people. And
you're not Pete Hegseth. Like, we can come for Pete Hegseth about other things, but please, like this whole thing about he has to be, yeah, he was a womanizer. So I'm sorry, I didn't know she was a man. What's going on? Y'all keep doing this thing about people's personal relationships, yo. Like, I've never been about that. Even when Bill Clinton and all that, and I was like, why is this a big national thing? I think that's between him and his wife. Of course, now I know why, because he was being blackmailed. But anyway.
The other thing that really jumped out at me is in a divorce, they get contentious. It's awful. People pick sides, but usually not the other partner's side. So the mother coming out during a divorce and defending so actually nobly in this letter her daughter-in-law who's going through a divorce, saying
and the mother of the grandchildren.
Yeah, the mother is saying she does not deserve this. She's a good person. People show you who they are in their worst moments, not their best moments. He's shown people who he is. And you can't unsee that. And for their personal relationships, I'm glad she's saying he's evolved. I do believe people can evolve and change and grow. 7 years is not a lot, but I do think that is great for his
Yo, these people say too much. I'm sorry, guys. I know. I always stop to think. Please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button and the notification bell. I'm so grateful to every eye that lands on these videos, okay? But these people say too much. It's like, come on. What are you saying here? To sit here and act like people can't change in 7 years, it took me 6 months to change a lot of, to rid myself a lot of the propagandizing, like all of the, oppression. White people hate me and all this other stuff. It took me about, I'm saying 6 months. I think it really took me like 2 weeks. Okay. Like, all I needed was a little information, and I was like, oh, Trump isn't that bad. Oh, okay. Okay. Now let me go share this news with other people too, by the way. So yeah, 7 years. I'm not even the person I was back then. What?
Personal relationships, the optics of putting him in charge of this department with all that lies beneath that. Pick someone else. There are a gazillion fish in the sea. I tell all my girlfriends all the time.
It's kind of interesting. I've been observing. RFK's family turned on him. They say he's not good enough for the part, that there's something wrong with him, besides the worm in the brain. Trump's niece, Mary Trump, his sister, they all said, yeah. And now you have this. So if your own mother turns on you, and also they're putting him in charge of the defense. My father was a compulsive gambler, Gino. I would not give him the job as in charge of the Treasury, okay? It's like...
What does having sex have to do with defense? Like, there's other things. You know what? And I always tell you all this because I'm not a Christian Zionist. I'm a Christian. I follow Christ, okay? I don't like when people try to do church and state and act like they're not doing church and state and tell me that I can't have church and state, but they'll say Americanism is Zionism. No. Pete Hegseth actually wrote that in a book and everything. He's really into that, right? I'm not. So we could talk about that because the problem with that is then you end up getting a person who's hyped to go to wars to change out the Middle East when you understand what Zionism is. So Christian Zionists, I don't believe, should be bringing in their... I sound like a leftist. I'm not. I'm just telling the truth. They should not be bringing in their type of ideological thinking when it comes to foreign policies. That's what I'm afraid of because that's... You know why? Because it affects me. Because if we go to the war in the Middle East, American soldiers, unfortunately, will be... and this is all hypothetical speaking, right? But if we go into war in the Middle East, American brothers and sisters may not make it home. We're going to cause destruction, all kinds of things, right? We don't want war. Okay, why don't they talk about that on The View? You're saying he can't be Department of Defense. Now you got me defending him. Why? Because he had a lot of sex and he cheated on his wife? What that got to do with anything as far as foreign policy?
Right. And I will also not write a nasty letter about it, but if your own mother turns on you, there's something going on there that we have to look at.
She said you're doing to... All right, sorry. All right.
Had the most difficulty with as a mother of a 20-something-year-old kid, a boy and an 18-year-old girl. You do grow and you make mistakes as a young person, but almost the vitriol of that letter, it was really significant to me that a mother would speak that way.
And he was, by the way, he was in his 30s. He was not some kind of teenager.
No, he was in his... I was going to say that. He was older. He was in his 30s. But what bothers me the most is this position that he's up for, which is Secretary of Defense, right?
Yeah.
And women, 228,966 represent almost 20% of the Department of Defense active duty force. More than 9,000 of those women have earned combat action badges. And what he said during a podcast interview just 2 weeks before he was tapped to head the Pentagon, he said, I'm straight up just saying we should not have women in combat roles. So even if I tried to put aside the mother's hatred of her son or with the terrible thing, let me retract that. The terrible things that she said.
Please hurry up and retract that. Y'all take it way too far. Y'all do.
Even if I were to just dispel with the allegations of sexual misconduct, the financial mismanagement at veterans charities, the repeated alleged intoxication and infidelity, I think it would be very difficult for him to be responsible for women in combat.
Go ahead. No.
So I worked at the Department of Defense. I was the spokeswoman for the Pentagon. And
you were?
Well, you didn't know
she
that?
Was good.
Okay. Well, clearly I need to rattle off my credentials
I didn't
more.
read your resume.
But yes. We all expect that bad behavior has kind of made its way into politics. You have people who've had affairs as presidents and all that. The DOD and the Secretary of Defense and the Joint Chiefs of Staff have largely stayed above reproach in terms of character. And the reason is because in national security and the people who run the U.S. military, they're aware that America's enemies are constantly looking at them and they're looking at things to exploit. They're looking. So when I went through my background check, they asked, do you have debt? Are you a gambler? Are you addicted to pornography?
Gino
Have you
would have
had
been out.
affairs?
My husband,
These
my
things,
father,
Felonies, any felony
these
record.
things matter because they think, could you be blackmailed? Could you be exploited by enemies when you have all this power to make life and death decisions? It doesn't matter that much if you had an affair and you run the Department of Commerce. Having a questionable record with women and abuse allegations at DOD absolutely matters. The good news is there are way better options. There's a million fish in the sea, and I've said it. Senator Joni Ernst, a combat veteran herself, is somebody that allegedly is a backup consideration.
From Iowa.
From Iowa. She would get bipartisan support, and she is a serious credentialed person with the qualifications
What
to
about
do the job.
DeSantis? Do you think he can do that job? Because his name is being floated around.
So to be honest,
also.
I don't really agree with him on domestic politics. He's qualified to do it. He spent 15 years in the military. He's a governor. He spent, I think, 3 terms in the House. He's infinitely more qualified.
What's her qualification?
She's a U.S. senator and former combat veteran, and she sits on Senate Armed Services Committee.
Right.
So she's worked with the Pentagon. Both are way more qualified. This guy's a Fox News host and did some work with veterans.
But he's a TV star. That's all that counts to Trump.
And he's in a
I think he was in the military, wasn't he, guys? Let me know. Listen, she said a lot. Please, well, I used to say keep DeSantis away, but anyway, our foreign policy is a mess. This guy's all about a forever war, but nobody seems to care about these kind of things. I think, Republican, great. It's like, no, we need to question our own people, okay? Now, anyway, coming back to the point, these comments, I don't know. It's like him saying he doesn't want women in combat. I mean, maybe he's a traditionalist who doesn't think that women should be going through all that. Like, what do I care? So, but you think he's going to just let them die because they're women? No. Y'all do all this, oh, this person, because they slept with so-and-so, they can't be part of this administration and all that, or whatever. But you want trans people in the military who have to take medication every day in order to keep their status as a trans person, and if they can't get to it, they're going to be a mess, but now they're going to be out there fighting somebody, but they can't get their meds. Right? Okay. The other part about bad behavior, one of my favorite presidents, if not my favorite president, I wasn't alive for him, is JFK. Okay. And JFK had a lot of scandals, apparently. That man fought for this country more than people can ever understand. The man gave his life, literally gave his life for his country. And we do him a disservice because we don't tell the truth about how he lost his life. That's for a later podcast one day. I will do that. And he was a bad guy, A man fought for this country, okay? What do these hens do? Yickety, 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 yickety. I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye.